Yo, what's up? It's Soccer Over There. It's a Monday night. We are here to talk soccer all over the world on a Monday evening. John and I are here. Nick Alifi might be able to join us for a short bit later on. Anniversaries and such, they do get in the way from time to time of doing live shows, so Nick has an excused absence. Jarrett has an unexcused absence, but we're used to that. That's just kind of how it goes. He's still probably trying to figure out why Celtic players are breaking their lockdown and going to Spain before matches, which is always good. Ragamuffin with a question about our opening graphic. Why is Peter Crouch on there? You'd have to ask Jarrett. That was his pick. He picked Peter Crouch. Probably because they're both oddly tall, is my guess.
They're altitudinal.
They
have the height the rest of us don't.
Yes, that would, I guess, work. That was Jarrett's pick. So take it up with Jarrett_Smith if he pops in tonight, or tweet at him, Jarrett_Smith. Ask him why he has an obsession with Peter Crouch. I think it's a fair question.
I mean, for me, all I saw were the latter days of Peter Crouch's career when he was at Stoke, and he would come in and say like the 80th or the 85th, and they would bring him in for set pieces, and he would put the occasional header home, and Stoke would salvage a point when they had no chance of doing so previously.
Well, are you trying to insult Peter Crouch?
No, that's just when I picked up Peter Crouch in his career. I know of his other exploits. I just didn't get to see him until he was at Stoke.
Okay, you missed out. YouTube, try it, search it out. It's okay. Read his book, actually. I've read bits of it. It's pretty good. He's pretty funny. That's one I need to finish. That's one I need to jump into. Okay, we got a lot of things to get into, lots of different talking points. Happiest of Joes is hanging out with us before he walks his pup. And I asked him how he's feeling about Dortmund and Sancho right now. That is Joe's other club outside of Atlanta United. And they're sounding pretty bullish right about now about Jadon Sancho. It feels like maybe a little bit of bluster. He did go with his team for preseason training in Switzerland. The German club said that the player would stay after a contract extension to 2023. Now, the quote is a little odd from Michael Zorc, the sports director at Dortmund. He said, "Last summer we adjusted Jadon's salary to match the development of his performances. So in context, we had already extended his contract until 2023 back then." What does that mean? You gave him a raise, but that's not the same as a contract extension. Huh?
What?
Joe's convinced by it. Says he's staying until 23. I am not convinced by it. He might stay another year. I don't think he's staying until 23. I think Dortmund will sell early because they'd be foolish not to. You're not going to wait until his contract's out and let him walk on a free. I think they're going to try to drive that price up, and it feels like you could be in a situation. Remember last year and Wilfred Zaha and Crystal Palace, and how they set a number that was very high, and it was almost a go-away number.
Yeah.
It was, we don't want to sell him. We know there's people who want to buy him. We're going to set a really high number, and if you hit it, then okay, we'll deal with it. But we don't want anybody to buy him. Maybe you're trying to get that kind of ballpark here. I'm with Joe. I think it is bluster to try to get as much as possible. I don't know if they'll come down from their magic number this year. They don't really have to, but I think they would like to probably be done with this and get the deal done. Would they quibble over €5 million or £5 million? Probably not. 10, okay, then maybe they might be quibbling.
Because you're looking at, what was the number, €120 million, £108 million?
Yeah.
I mean, in this environment, how many teams can actually handle that number?
5 or 6.
Yeah, so...
Only one's bidding right now, though. So it doesn't really matter. It's just down to, is Manchester United going to pony up the cash? I think it's gotten too far. I mean, what is the last offer we have heard from Manchester United on this? Didn't we get to €90 million or pounds?
Yeah.
I think it was probably euro. So they were 30 million euro off. But you're talking the difference between 90 and 120. Can you find a magic number in between? And Dortmund's probably going to try to edge it closer to them. So can you get to the 110 million euro? Probably. I think Manchester United can find that. They did extend basically their credit limit as far as they could go, and I would assume that this was a big reason why. They're back in the Champions League, which gives them a little more room to work with. They're into the semifinals now of the Europa League. That's going to help with another check. So, yeah, I think it gets done. I think this is bluster, but it's not going to come down much from this magic number that Dortmund has in mind. If Manchester United wants to do it now, they're going to have to pay up a lot of cash, more than the 90 plus add-on kind of stuff. And that's what Joe says the last that he had heard was United got to 90 plus add-ons. They're going to have to get to 105 plus add-ons, I think, to get there. Bernd says, and this is from our Bundesliga correspondent, Bernd Dursberger.
There you go.
Borussia Dortmund, and in quotes, secretly, unquote, extended him until 23 when they raised his salary. Everybody thought it was only till 22. I think they will keep him till next summer. They were not willing to give a discount. Manchester United's at 80 million euros, what Bernd thought. Yeah. I would imagine, and I don't know, and Bernd, fill us in on how this will go. Was Sancho's representation happy about being secretly extended? I'm with you. I don't think he stays past next summer. I think if he gets through this window, they'd be very reluctant to sell him in the January window, but they definitely sell him next year. They're not going to get into the drama of 1 year left on the deal. I just don't see it. That's all from Kicker today. Thanks, Bernd. Appreciate that. I don't think Gammertam's going to help either with this one. I don't think that's going to play it. Ragamuffin with a good question, and I want you to answer it first. Is Jadon Sancho worth that much money to Manchester United? Does he make them title contenders? Seems like an albatross of a contract that won't stop the ball from going into their own net. Now, it's not the contract. I mean, this would be the transfer fee. It would be a big contract, but not a absurd. It's not a Gareth Bale contract.
Yeah.
You know, where that's an albatross. This would definitely carry expectations. Is it worth it for Manchester United to go up another 30 million euro to get the deal done?
See that, and that's the thing for me is that I would think that with your issues at the back, and yes, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is bringing in the youth, and you're seeing it come and perform very, very well with experience. But I would want defense. I mean, because what we've seen with Bruno Fernandes, you've seen how he can be that offensive instigator. I think that you need to work on your issues at the back and then work your way forward with bringing folks in. I just don't think that, and in this environment, I think that you probably, there you go, Classic City Lager.
Had a question on what I was drinking.
Yeah, that was my question eventually. But no, I just think honestly right now you could service your back line far better with that money than throw it at Jadon Sancho and try to outscore people.
Well, then who would you go get on the back line?
That's my question.
Well, I mean, but I think this is why this kind of question can get you in trouble sometimes, because you start to look at that and you're like, okay, they need to spend more money in the back line. Well, you're not going to spend 90 or 85 or 80 or 120 million euro on a defender. You're not going to do that. So, you know, then are you going to spend 40 on a defender? You're going to spend 50 on a defender. Who? There's not a ton available. That's why it's always tougher to upgrade there. I don't. They haven't really been linked to anybody that I know of. So, Chris Ashley says I don't think it's worth it, which means I'm 100% fine with them spending that money on him. But the other thing, too, and this is, I think, what you have to factor in, you know, when we talk about this in MLS, you know, even not knowing what cap space is and stuff like that, we know there's a limit. We know that, all right, if somebody's going to throw this kind of salary around or bring that player in, they're going to be making a bunch of salary. They're going to have limitations in what they can do elsewhere. This kind of money wouldn't fly for like a Leeds United, wouldn't fly for a Sheffield United, but for a Manchester United, they can spend it. They've got it. So it's not doesn't have the same value. I mean, it's money, it's the same amount, but it doesn't have the same value to them. They can go and spend a little more if this is the guy they want. If this is the player that they decide will change everything for them, they can go spend a little more. Now, my question is he the player that changes everything for them? Because going forward, they haven't had a ton of issues.
Yeah.
What do you do with this lineup if you bring him in? Who goes? Who goes to the bench at least? I don't know. Let's look at the lineup from today.
Yeah, that's where I was going. So go ahead and dial
Manchester United, 1-0 winners over Copenhagen. Their goalkeeper had a...
Oh, he was out of his mind.
He stood on his head. Get mad, it's okay. It's not an excuse. He stood on his head. He had an incredible day. Carl Johansson. Unbelievable day from him. 14 saves, I think he finished with. 13. 13 saves, according to Who Scored. Okay, you had 26 shots today. You controlled the possession. You did everything you needed to do. All right. So, performances. Martial, very, very good. Bruno Fernandes, very, very good. Out wide, you had Rashford and Greenwood. Are you going to put Greenwood to the side? He'd have to be the one you put to the side, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, on paper, you'd rather have Sancho, but then, okay, what are you going to do with Greenwood long term? Because you're bringing in Sancho. Sancho's not 30, 20.
Yeah,
so
same age, basically.
You're saying Mason Greenwood, thanks, but if you're going to stay here, you're going to be a reserve. And if you want to go, then okay, we'll accommodate that. I don't know. Backline. So center back is what they need. I mean, Wan-Bissaka, good signing this year. He's had a good year. Harry Maguire's your guy for a long time. He's not going anywhere. On the left side, everybody's very happy with Brandon Williams. Young, up-and-coming left back. Okay, you're going to roll with him. You played, Eric Bailey is your center back next to Maguire. Can you upgrade there? Yeah. But could you, and this is just trying to figure out how to make everything work, could you buy Sancho, sell Greenwood, and then buy a center back? I would think you could. I don't think this would come at the expense of the defense. Yeah. I'm very interested. So, Bernd with a little more information on his salary. At Dortmund, it's a pretty good salary there. It's €6 million a year. He'd get a raise at Manchester United, that's for sure. And Bernd speculates like into the 10 million range, but not life-changing. The agents would get, obviously, a big cut of the transfer. And he'd get a cut from the transfer, you would think, depending on his contract and his deal with his agents. So he would get a large chunk. That salary, you can manage that if you're Manchester United. That's not going to break your books. You're going to be able to get things done. So it's an interesting one. I mean, it's not quite a luxury buy because you're talking about one of the best young English players of this generation. But it's not the most pressing need for Manchester United. So can they address their other needs? I think the biggest question about Manchester United is what you do in goal. Are you going to move on from David De Gea? Are you going to give him another shot? Are you going to bring Dean Henderson back from loan and give him the opportunity to win the number 1 shirt? Sergio Romero's a number 2 there. He will be for a long time. I don't think that's going to change, but if he continues to have performances in the Europa League, he didn't really have a ton to do today, but if he wins the Europa League, does he throw his hat into the ring? De Gea's job's up for grabs, in my opinion, and that maybe concerns me more than anything else about Manchester United, is what is this team going to look like in goal next year? Does a better goalkeeper or a goalkeeper with more confidence or a goalkeeper that the backline has more confidence in, does that make everything work out better? I don't know. That's the one I think they have to make the decision. I would, because I think Ole's in the position to do this. Ole's got all the goodwill he's going to have right now. He got them into third. He's not going anywhere. Everybody seems to love the guy. You want to make a big, bold move right now, you put Dean Henderson in as your number 1. You go ahead and it's time. He's not going to be more ready with another year out on loan, I don't think. So you do that. You try to find a home for De Gea and move him on and thank him for his service, and you roll with it. Because next year for me in the Premier League, Manchester United is not getting in. Now, maybe if they sign Sancho, they're going to have this expectation. But if you look at this team, I don't think they're getting into that top conversation. I don't think they're getting into the Liverpool-Manchester City conversation. Chelsea's trying to force their way into that. If they get Kai Havertz, maybe they do force their way into that conversation. I'm not 100% convinced Frank Lampard is the guy to lead them into that conversation, but Manchester United's not a title contender next year, I don't think. I don't see that. So give Henderson the job. He'll have plenty of pressure, and you'll have Champions League, and he'll have expectations. Don't get me wrong. But if they finish third or fourth again next year, I think you're happy with that. You're almost looking like another year down the road to become that title contender, another year of development. If you get Sancho, Rashford developing another year, you've got players that are, young and on the way up with this group. So next year is consolidation. The following year is the title push, and get Henderson ready for that. Don't put him into the title push after another year on loan. That's just my feeling. I think he's ready, and I think they need to move on from De Gea.
No, I think so too. And, what you've seen over the last handful of years with Manchester United are the guys like Brandon Williams, are the guys like Mason Greenwood who've come up through the system and they've developed, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer saw the promise in them as very young players and let them have that opportunity to get those really big game important reps. And you're seeing the end result right, where you're seeing the growing result right now. So, yeah, I mean, for me, I would, after the year that Henderson had at Sheffield United, I would have him as my number one and try to find a market for David De Gea. Going through that starting 11, you look at Bailly and Lindelof, and you're like, that's the spot I would try to do something defensively. But we'll see what they have in mind.
Okay, Chelsea. Michael Ruiz says the amount of attacking talent that Chelsea has is unreal. How do you get better defensively? That's why I'm a little surprised at what they've been doing. So, you're adding Timo Werner, okay? You're trying to get Kai Havertz. You're adding Ziyech. How do you play Werner, Havertz, Ziyech, Pulisic, Mount, Abraham, Giroud? How do you make it fit? I don't know. And then you haven't upgraded defensively. Who is your best defender if you're Chelsea? As I'm looking at this, it's not good that the answer is probably Azpilicueta. Going to be 31 next year. Kurt Zuma's 25. Then you're looking at Rudiger. Yeah, the 2-2-6. That's about what you're looking at, Chris Ashley, because
it is.
There's just not much else. And those attacking players. With the exception of maybe Ziyech could play as an 8. What are you gonna do with this group? You've got to figure that out, because I don't know. I feel like they're getting redundant in positions at times. They don't need a number 9, Joe. They actually have a couple. They've got to figure out if Tammy Abraham's going to be the guy from day one. We'll see. Thad Dooley wants to give David Luiz back.
God.
That doesn't make anything
better.
Better.
Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing that gets me.
Okay.
Matteo Guendouzi, Arsenal's trying to get $40 million for him from PSG.
Mm-hmm.
If they can get $40 million from Matteo Guendouzi, that's a great piece of business, because I don't think he's worth that much. But I know a lot of folks are sitting there going, "Ooh, 20-year-old player, and he's a midfielder." And the outburst that he had against Norwich, which caused Mikel Arteta to sit him for the rest of the season. If you have that much discontent toward a player and that much disinterest, and you can turn around and get $40 million for him, more power to you.
Well,
I don't see the worth of $40 million.
Again, PSG is a club that's got the money to spend. $40 million to them isn't the same as $40 million to others. That you do have to remember that. So that factors into what you can do with it. What these clubs will do is they'll make these kinds of deals, and then Chelsea can go drop that 40 somewhere else. Or what Arsenal could drop that 40 somewhere else. Chelsea is really confusing to me on a couple of fronts, and you tell me what you think about the second part. The attack, yeah. I think it's getting redundant. I don't know how you get enough minutes for all of these players and keep them happy and keep some kind of continuity. You will be fighting on multiple fronts for sure, but that excuse only goes so far. Like, you're going to have to settle on something at some point. The second part is Frank Lampard the guy to get Chelsea through where they are now? Because he was the guy when he was hired, because they were looking at, we got to play the kids. We can't go into the transfer market. We're bringing the club legend back. Everybody feels happy again. Yay. Now you're in the Champions League, and you're spending boatloads of money to win. Now, is Abramovich going to be happy if you finish third next year?
No.
Are you counting on Chelsea to finish ahead of Manchester City or Liverpool?
No.
Is that because of Frank Lampard?
It's because of their defense.
Yeah.
I just here's a couple of stats that I came up with while we were talking about Chelsea's defense, and we all know that that Kepa is out the door. It's safe to say, because of what we've seen from him.
Gotta be.
Last little bit. All right. Despite ranking near the top of the Premier League in interceptions and second best at shots allowed per game at 8.5, they've conceded the most goals of any club in the top half of the Premier League. Kepa, as Chelsea sit at the bottom by a lot in saves. So you have interceptions, second best at shots allowed, worst in the league in saves from a keeper. So that, to me, is a number one. So the names that are being mentioned.
Yeah, hold on one sec. You have to go all the way down to 11th to find a team that gave up more goals than Chelsea. Southampton. I mean,
and remember, one of those games that Southampton had was the 9 that they gave up to Leicester.
Yeah, that's right. So you take that out of it, then they're not there. Then you're going down to Everton, who's only 2 goals more and started the season horribly. Can Lampard coach this team to win in shootouts? Because you're not going to – right now, it doesn't look like you're going to give up less. I just don't see that. So, Bernd Dursberger with a question. I want your take because I know how I feel on this one. Would you agree that Mikel Arteta outcoached Lampard in the FA Cup final?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the difference between the two, Arteta doesn't have as much to work with, but Arteta, I think, will be a better manager than Frank Lampard.
Yeah, I think so.
Lampard can develop and grow. He is where he is right now. Year 1 at Derby, right? He got to the playoff, but they didn't get promoted. Goes over to Chelsea year 2. And gets them into a Champions League spot, which is impressive. Did he win that, or did Leicester give it away?
Leicester gave it away.
That's the way I feel, too. I mean, he was in the mix, but 54 goals conceded in 38 matches. To be there, something's not adding up. I don't see that happening. Michael Reese says, can Chelsea brute force next season like LAFC from a scoring perspective? You can brute force your way into the Europa League and maybe the 4th spot. Maybe the 3rd with the way the league shakes out, but not into the top 2. I just don't see it. Yeah.
Couple of notes. Right now, it looks like Chelsea, and I'm at a loss with these two individuals, linked to Atletico Madrid's Jan Oblak and Trabzonspor's Uğurcan Shakir.
I've heard the Oblak rumor a few times. You'd be getting a goalkeeper that would definitely be steady and an upgrade. I don't think Atleti would be all that willing to sell, but if Atleti, which they have a good draw, if they get through and they get to the Champions League final and they win the thing, then maybe they do sell. Maybe they say, all right, thank you, here's your medal, and cool, we'll take a whole boatload of money for you. Because they'll go get another one. That's what they've always done. Chelsea's got problems at goalkeeper and problems on the back line, and they just keep wanting to buy attackers.
Yeah. And when they paired Zuma and Rudiger together, there were times when they would have clean sheets. Of course, one of those was against Norwich. Late in the season, Zuma and Rudiger had been paired the first 7 times they were partnered. They'd only allowed 3 goals total, 4 straight clean sheets. And so Zuma and Rudiger might be your pair, but I still think you need help at the back line to go with someone in between the sticks.
Yeah, I mean, Manchester United and Chelsea are in similar situations. Like, you feel... I think you feel better about Chelsea's attack with all of the pieces they're adding. I don't know by how much. Manchester United defensively, Chelsea defensively, they've both got questions in goal. They've both got questions at center back. Around that, I feel maybe better about Manchester United. I don't know. I feel like it's a coin flip between those two. Do you see anybody else getting into that conversation in 3-4? This season, 5th was Leicester. They fell out of it late, lost 3 of their last 4, 4 points out. Tottenham was next, 7 points out. Wolves were 7th, 7 points out. Arsenal was further back, 10 points back. Yeah. Sheffield United, Burnley, that's your top 10. Do you see anybody else pushing into the 3-4 conversation for Champions League next year?
Outside of the names that we just mentioned, no. I think that it's still going to be Manchester United, Chelsea. I want to see Leicester here. I really do. I want to see how they respond to what happened at the tail end of the Premier League season for me. But no, Brendan Rodgers for me has had the approach of put the pedal down, get as many points on the board as possible, and then try to, cruise is the wrong word, but give yourself enough of a cushion to where your position stays where it is. This time around, that philosophy didn't work. Does he continue to have this philosophy with Leicester where you try and sprint out and try to be competitive and you're the number 3 and you try to hang on to the 3 and the 4, but then you lose 3 of your last 4 and you end up at number 5? I think it's going to be the same players. The same dance card next season. I don't really see anybody hopping up and surprising to add to that mix. No.
Rope says Wolves.
Yeah, well,
good defensively.
They are.
Raul Jimenez, really good up top. I don't think they're going to sell him.
Nope.
Traore, one of the best dribblers in the league.
Crazy.
You got a good duo there. Can you get more goals out of that group? Because you only had 51 this season.
Yep. And you gave up. I'm trying to do the math here real quick with goals allowed, and you were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th in the Premier League in goals allowed. So, and when you got a keeper like Rui Patricio, they've got to, and I want to know how European competition affects them again, coming out of the blocks. Does it
handled it pretty good this year?
Yeah, so far. So
far the season's over. They handled it good this year. It didn't take them out of 7th.
They ain't done with their Europa League season yet.
That's not the point, John. We're talking about the league. The league's done.
They've
had. Well, then are you seriously complaining about what they've done in Europa League? They're playing with house money at this point, aren't they?
No, what I'm saying is, how does this finish in the Europa League? How does it affect training, resting, and getting prepared for 2020 and 2021? How does it affect them getting ready for next season? Because of this deep run, do they get off to a slow start next year because of this deep run that they have this year? That was my point.
Thank you for clarifying, because you didn't make any sense the way you said it. Manchester United's going to have that question.
Yep.
Manchester City's going to have that question.
But I think that Manchester City has the depth. I think Manchester United.
Chelsea's going to have that question.
Yeah, but Chelsea with that 2-2-6 or whatever they're going to play.
That's not going to work. and they've got a bunch of injuries going into the new season too.
Yeah.
I don't think Wolves is alone in dealing with that challenge. The people around them will have challenges too. So Wolves, I just wonder if they can get more in the attack out of what they have. I do think they'll keep the guys. Ragamuffin asked if they'll keep all their guys. I think they'll keep the important ones.
Yeah.
I don't see Jimenez or Traore leaving. Chris Ashley throwing a wild card into the conversation. No surprise. Where do you think Leeds finishes next year?
Ooh. Huh.
So Sheffield United was the promoted team this year that got to 9th.
Yeah.
Now, they lost their last 3.
Yeah, they did. They hit the wall.
Yeah, but they were pretty much where they were by that point. If you'd won those, you would have got to 5th.
Yeah.
Didn't really matter too much. So you were who you were who you were. Okay, let's put it this way. Can Leeds finish above what Sheffield did this year? 54 points, 14, 12, and 12. Great defense, not much going forward.
Okay, so I think they're better than West Brom. I think they're better than Fulham. I think they'd be better than Villa, better than West Ham, better than Brighton. So where does that put them? 15th right now?
Yes.
And considering Crystal Palace and Newcastle were only 3 points ahead of where Brighton finished, I could see that. So I'm thinking somewhere in that neighborhood of 12th.
Okay, so you're putting Everton, you're putting Southampton, Burnley, Sheffield United, you're putting that group ahead of them.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, and considering the gaggle that was, say, Arsenal at 8, at 56, Sheffield and Burnley at 54, Southampton 52, Everton at 49. I mean, I would probably have them right there, like 12B, 13A, somewhere in there.
Feels like there's a drop-off at 12. Everton on 49, Newcastle at 44. Those felt like, by the end of the season anyway, 2 completely different clubs. I think Everton will be better next year. They were my sleeper pick this year, and they didn't look like it first. They looked like it when Ancelotti came in. With a whole year, we'll see what they look like. Not sleeper pick to win the title, sleeper pick to get into a European conversation.
Yeah.
Leeds has got Jack Harrison back on another year from Manchester City. They signed an 18-year-old from Wigan as well, Joe Gelhardt. Signed him to a four-year deal. Don't know how much he's going to factor in this year.
Bamford?
Well, yeah, you have Bamford. I mean, we know that. Do they need to upgrade from Bamford? I think that's the question, and that's what Chris Ashley's saying. He says that they are rumored to be in the mix for Edward from Celtic, which would be a big get. Yeah, it would.
Jarrett Smith, what do you think?
Jarrett would probably be very angry but happy with whatever fat check comes their way.
Yeah.
I think Leeds needs that. They definitely need some depth. They have to figure out who's going to be their creative player because I think you're going to run into some teams, and you mentioned probably about 6 of them in your run of who you think Leeds is better than that will sit back and defend against them, so Leeds won't be able to just press them as much. They're going to have another way. It's going to be weird. I think they can get into the 10 to 12 range. I do. And if they get lucky, they can get higher. I just don't know who falls.
Yeah.
Liverpool, Manchester City. I was
looking at it.
Liverpool, Manchester City, I don't think are going anywhere. I think United and Chelsea are the next 2. Tottenham should be better. They shouldn't have a bad start under Mourinho, but you can never tell exactly with Jose at times the longer he's at a place. Usually year 2 is pretty good. I think they'll be better than Leicester next year. Wolves, maybe about where they should be. Yeah. Arsenal with Arteta, I think they can be better. Sheffield United, I don't know if they'll be better. I think they might fall back a little bit.
I want to know who I want to know who they'd be pursuing in net. That's my biggest thing.
Yeah, Burnley and Southampton, so. I think Leeds can take them. I think Everton will be higher, so they can get into that 10 to 12 range. I think that would be the good shout here. And for Leeds, they would be in a different spot than Sheffield United, in my opinion, if they can get there. Because Sheffield United, it felt like they got there and now they're hanging on for dear life. I think if Leeds comes back into the Premier League and in year one gets to the middle of the table, that's the consolidation year for them to then make the push to get into the European competitions the following year. They just have to get in and get established. They have to get past that difficulty of year one. And I think they can do that.
Yeah, I'm confident in Leeds. I'm far more confident in Leeds than I am with West Brom and Fulham. I think that Fulham probably is going to be part of that fight toward the end of the year with the same dance partners that we saw this past year. West Ham, Brighton, Villa. Those, I think they're going to be a part of that fight to see who stays up.
Who do you think that stayed up this year is at the biggest risk of going down next year?
Villa.
Yeah, I mean, it's the easy one. They were the last one. Why Villa?
Horrific defensively, and if they sell Jack Grealish, don't hang on to him, and can't replace.
They're talking $80 million for Grealish, which is insanity.
Yeah. So it's if you can't give, let's put it this way: if you sell Grealish off and can't replace, or if you can't get him some help, that minus 26 is still going to be staring at you the entire season. Just awful defensively, and I think that was, short of Norwich, that was the second most goals that were allowed last season. So you can't do that and expect to stay up all the time.
No. The flip side with Villa, if you sell Grealish, I don't think you're getting $80 million. I don't think it's happening.
Oh.
Can you get him and add two players that make you better? Yeah. You could, and they need to. But I don't know if they're going to find the right amount. I think they were hoping. I know there had been talk about Manchester United. That ain't happening. Yeah. I don't think Manchester United's fallback position from getting Sancho is to go get Grealish instead. I don't think he makes them that much better. I don't think any of the big spenders are going to spend on Jack Grealish. I like Jack Grealish. Chris Ashley does not like Jack Grealish. Loathes him. I like Jack Grealish, but he's not an $80 million player.
Yeah.
Nowhere close. What can you do if you're Villa to get better if you don't sell Grealish? I have no idea. Badgermon says West Ham has a good chance of going down.
Yeah.
Also thinks Grealish is too inconsistent. Grealish, yeah, you could go to Chelsea. They keep signing everybody. Why not? Yeah. Might as well. Ropes is worried about Wolves losing players. There's reportedly Newcastle, Leicester, Everton after Traore. There'd been the talk about Jimenez to Manchester United. I'm not really expecting that.
Yeah.
But Wolves at 7, if they get there again next year, that's fine. I think the teams that could jump above 7, let's say that, because a lot of times you see teams past 5 get into the Europa League. Let's see who can get into the Europa League conversation. Arsenal can. Everton can.
Yep.
Tottenham will be in that conversation. Those are 3 that. I mean, Tottenham was even with Wolves on points, ahead of them on goal differential. I think those are the 3 clubs that can be ahead of them. And Wolves could come back to the pack a little bit. I think Sheffield United comes back to the pack a decent bit. Burnley, Southampton, Newcastle, Palace. It's a kind of a crapshoot between those teams. Bernd is worried about Newcastle. Now, where Newcastle could get into trouble, you want to explain why you're laughing like that?
Sorry, I had a Mike Ashley flashback. You'll have to pardon
That's
me.
what I'm saying. Why don't you explain?
That Mike Ashley still wants to engage the Saudis to be those that take over for him as owners. And I'm sure, why not at this point? Keep going down that road, dude. That's just, I saw that and I'm like, yeah, he really does want HMB in Saudi Arabia. That's the only thing I can figure.
I mean, what's your metaphor for this one? You're usually good with this.
I was trying to think of John Cusack and Say Anything outside the window. holding up the radio, and Ione Sky are the Saudis.
Okay. Yeah, it could work. That's a pretty good one.
That was the first one that popped into my head.
Sky Sports had it earlier a few hours ago that Mike Ashley is personally trying to resolve the situation, and according to sources, 100% committed to finding a way to get the takeover back on.
Oh, yeah.
Premier League still hasn't said anything. They still haven't said no. The would-be owners walked away last week. So,
Henry Morris has 4 days, apparently. I thought the 14th was the date that I heard to get something finalized.
What's the 14th? What does that mean?
That was a deadline that I saw in the British papers for Henry Morris. Ashley had given him to the 14th to come up with a deal. And this was like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. But that was in researching when the PIF was calling everything off. There was a line in one of the British papers that said Henry Morris had until August 14th to get something done with Mike Ashley.
Amanda Stavely describes herself as heartbroken in an interview with
the
Times.
Because she's out, $40 million?
Well, I'd be heartbroken too. She was critical of the Premier League for not approving the takeover, blamed other clubs for opposing it, asked if the Saudi-backed consortium blamed the Premier League for the collapse of the deal. She replied, quote, "Of course we do. They had a chance. They say we have not answered all the questions, and we have done so. But the other clubs in the Premier League didn't want it to happen. We are so heartbroken for the Newcastle fans, as the investment that was going to go into the club, especially with everything happening with Brexit and COVID, would have been so important. This is catastrophic for them. It has been going on for so long, and the opportunity was there."
Okay.
I like Badgermon's idea here. They should do a reality show with Newcastle, like The Bachelor. So you have the potential suitors all like make their case.
You get a sale deed, and you get a sale deed.
Yeah, you get like whatever. You get a case of Newcastle beer or something. I don't know. I'd be down for that. I would watch that.
It's something from you get a gift certificate from Sports Direct.
Yeah, that'd be fine. Go buy some workout equipment or something. Yeah, that'd be good. Probably better than what they're dealing with right now, because now you're a month away from the season and you don't know who's going to own the club by then. It's excellent. Yep. This is an interesting one. We talk about the Premier League, and we've had these conversations about revenues and finances, and I'm sure some people saw the report in the AJC today about the Braves. Revenues down 95% in the last quarter. You didn't play any games in the last quarter, so that's one big reason. Expenses were down because you didn't have to pay any salaries during that quarter either, but still, you lost a whole lot of money. That's Major League Baseball. This is coming out in the Premier League in the Daily Mail, so take it with a little bit of a grain of salt. 160 million pound TV battle in China after the broadcast holders of their most lucrative overseas deal withheld the payment due in March, which we had not heard about yet, posing potentially seismic ramifications for club finances. The Premier League is in a legal dispute with their Chinese broadcast partners. Suning Holdings have withheld a payment of 160 million pounds that was due in March. Top Flight have retaliated by rejecting their offer of a 3-year extension. And the standoff, I mean, just do the math. You're talking 160 million that was due in March, divided by 20.
8.
Yeah, that adds up. That's a transfer. That's, I don't know if that's a whole year or what. That's not good. Suning agreed to pay 564 million pounds for the current 2019 to 22 cycle for the right to broadcast Premier League games on their digital channel. It was a 12-fold increase on the previous Chinese TV deal. The Premier League was budgeting for another significant raise in the next 3 years. They were hoping that would kind of offset that the local numbers in the UK have kind of flatlined a little bit. Premier League saying that Suning is in a breach of contract following the failure to pay. Suning is saying they don't have to pay because Sporting World was shut down due to coronavirus.
Yes. Yeah. Figured there would be a force majeure down here reference.
You bring politics into it as well. clubs are trying to figure out what to do here, and they could go a bunch of different directions. They could try to terminate the deal, put it back on the market. They could demand an immediate payment and see where that gets them. They could negotiate a revised payment schedule. This company in China has Champions League, FA Cup, La Liga, Bundesliga. They also have a controlling interest in Inter Milan. So their issues have also been compounded because there's no, international sports events in China for the next year. And when you think to the summer, you usually have friendlies and stuff like that. So it's all kinds of a mess. And, we thought that they had sorted out the biggest of their TV issues with moving money around, doing different things. And now you've got one that is a pretty big one. And it's maybe not as big now. You hear $8 million. It's like, okay, that's not good, but is that really going to break the bank? It's that whole thing of them expecting more in the next deal quickly, and that comes up in 22. So you're already kind of starting to bank on that going up by a huge amount. And if you're not even getting this, you're probably not going to get more later. So that's
average
where they're
of
at.
$141 million per year of the deal. It's probably an escalated deal, but on average, each year would come out to $141 million.
Yeah, so it's probably the next one will be in the 180 to 200 or something as it escalates. But would their extension past that? Now you've rejected their offer, so now are you going to be able to get that big raise in the next deal? I would say in general you wouldn't be able to, and with this issue, you're definitely not going to be able to do it. So
yeah,
I don't know. Keep an eye on this kind of stuff because it will affect it, and it feels like the American sports conversation is a little slow to understand these things. With now you see that about the Braves, and it's like, well, are they going to have to slash their budgets? Well, they might. Yeah. They might have to. You see college sports, and it's like nobody thought, like, oh, this would never happen. Well, welcome to the real world. You're in it. Figure it out. This stuff is going to be bad in the short term on the finances. It's going to be bad for a few years on the finances.
Yeah.
Like, things aren't going to just immediately bounce back. You'll get ticket revenue, and that's going to help you, but your sponsorships are going to be flat or down. You're not going to see increases very often, I don't think. Your TV money is going to be about the same. So it's going to be rough.
And your TV partners are going to want to try and figure out ways to accelerate, maximize revenue opportunities like we're seeing inside the MLS's back tournament, where you're inserting the commercial in the side-by-sides during the hydration breaks. You're going to see more elements and different ways of trying to massage these contracts to try to figure out how sponsors can get more recognition, possibly get more signage, more saturation with all the broadcast partners, and it's going to take the leagues, their representatives who understand the production side of things when it comes to either radio, TV, new media, what have you, other revenue streams, and trying to figure out how to massage things for keeping your sponsor, your old sponsors happy, trying to court new sponsors, and trying to recoup what you've lost, and at the same time trying not to have another dip like we've seen, knowing that interest is going to be hard to come by because of where the market is right now. Oh, okay. Mondays with Reddit.
One day you'll get the cue. Chris Ashley got it before you in the chat room.
I hit the final note, and I was waiting for a push.
Okay.
I was poised. I was ready. I was ready to camp out on it.
It's debatable.
But good that Chris Ashley jumped on it. That's good stuff.
Yes. We have a quote on Andrea Pirlo. Adriano Galliani says this: "He was already a coach when he was playing. If I had to use one word to define Andrea, it would be intelligent. He was always studying. He studied the opponents, the places we were playing, the situations. I am sure he'll do very well at Juventus. How do you feel about that?
Define well.
It's Juventus. It's winning the league and getting to the quarterfinals of what?
I mean,
the league. The league
Yeah.
that they had a fight with Inter and Lazio this year over.
yeah, and it's going to. I think that this is. I honestly think that this is going to be a transition year, and Juventus fans are going to have to be a little more patient. I'll say this right now. I think that those teams that were right behind them in the standings, I think that Juve could finish third. I think they can. I don't see them repeating. I just think that it's going to take a while for the players to get adjusted to what Pirlo wants. It's going to take a while for Pirlo to kind of find his footing when it comes to being a manager. I don't think they win the league.
All right, let it be heard that John Nelson has said Juventus does not win Serie A next year.
Nope.
That is John's prediction. We will revisit that probably, hopefully, closer to June of 2021.
Yeah.
Write that down, John, and
Write
maybe
it down.
put it on a Post-it note on your computer because that's a big one.
React to me. Is this thing on?
That feels like you're trying to get a reaction.
San Siro, Sassuolo, Sicily. I want to hear from you.
So who wins? Who wins the league? Inter, Antonio Conte fighting with everybody at Inter. Do they win it?
I don't know if Conte's going to be there, considering how he's fighting with everybody.
Okay, Atalanta. They're next. They were third.
Yeah, well, then it might end up being Inter. Yeah,
Lazio?
I think
They were fourth.
Yeah,
Roma?
Let's
Milan?
Let's go with Inter.
Napoli?
Let's go with Inter, despite all the infighting with Antonio Conte. I'm trying to find a piece of paper to write that down.
Antonio Conte fighting with everybody takes them to the title. That could happen.
Sure.
It'll be fascinating, that's for sure. I'm intrigued to see this. I am very intrigued to see what happens, and I'm not running to my favorite bookie for that one just yet. I'm going to wait and see how this goes. You're the one who said it. Why are you saying no?
I'm still not running to my bookie because
you made the bold claim.
You don't want me to make a selection or unless you do, then you sit there and you run the other way, and then you make your money.
You did make the selection. You said.
But what I'm saying is that now that I made my selection, usually what happens is the opposite, and so folks will go that direction. Did you see what Jarrett posted in the DMs?
Oh, that's a good try to change the subject from getting caught from trying to walk back your bold prediction. But okay.
No, I'm not walking back my bold prediction. I'm just saying that traditionally what I do...
Okay, trying to downplay your bold prediction.
People can sit there and take the opposite, and that's usually the case.
Okay,
so.
All right, whatever.
So it might be Atalanta that wins it. It might be Roma that wins it. So.
I would like to see Atalanta win it, but that's going to be a big step for them.
Absolutely, I would love to see that.
Byrne says, you're right, it's a transition year, though. Too many bad contracts to go get Pochettino now. He would want full rebuild, and they don't want to spend so much now. Yeah. I'm with that reasoning. I am. It could work with Pirlo. It could. It's a big risk because we don't have anything to base a track record on. But it could. They're going to have more talent than I think anybody in the league, maybe with the exception of Inter. We will see. They should win the title. I think for me, I'm looking at it more of, does he get them past the quarterfinals of the Champions League? And if he does, it's a success. I think even if they lose the title. If they win the Champions League and don't win the league title, they'd take that.
Yeah.
They would take that. I'm skeptical. Badgermon with the line on Juventus. Doesn't a Jeep stop running at peak performance after about 9 years?
Actually, yeah. The second that you get right past the warranty mileage, that's when DCPJ products just kind of sit there and go. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, trust me. I had a Dodge as one of my cars in a past life, and the second you got past the warranty mileage, everything fell apart.
Why don't you tell everybody what Jarrett Smith posted in the DM, since he is not joining us right now?
He said that, I want to get the phrasing right, and he posted a photo. He says, I just want you to know I'm not missing SOT for nothing. I'm missing SOT for s'mores, and apparently he is hanging out in the environs of Walton High School, and he held up one of those s'mores that he's having, and it seems to be a rather thick s'more, too. So that's just dirty pool. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, s'mores are pretty good. I can't really be too upset with him for missing the show for s'mores. Wait a minute.
Not sharing either.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he can't really share, John. Remember, there's a whole pandemic.
Take them from the location, and you can put them in the fridge or the freezer.
Have you had s'mores? They're not good like that.
Not recently, but can't you reheat them? Can you reheat a s'more?
No, it loses all the quality when you try to reheat a s'more. I've never tried to reheat a s'more. It's all about the
did you see the news about Charlton Athletic?
What is the news on Charlton Athletic, sir?
They face being booted out of the EFL with ownership shambles.
Yeah, they don't have an owner that's approved.
They're in danger of heading the same way unless ESI sell the club.
Yeah, because they're not approved to own it.
By against the EFL's decision to ban Chairman Paul Elliott and club lawyer Chris Farnell from taking over is doomed, according to the newspaper that we can't quote by name.
Okay.
The league are currently instructing an independent panel to hear the case, but their original decision is deemed bulletproof by EFL legal eagle Nick Craig. Worrying for Addicts fans, Farnell was the lawyer acting for Bury last summer before they were booted out of the EFL.
Oh, that's not good.
Funding. So there you go.
That's a problem.
And in another twist, allegedly, Farnell was planning to appoint former Southampton and Wolves boss Dave Jones today as special football advisor. Guess where Jones also held the same role last summer?
Where did he hold the same role last summer?
Bury. So there you go.
That's
not
good.
Ain't looking good for Charlton Athletic.
That's not good. It's funny to read, when we do the show, we don't prepare in detail for the Nicholas Bentner update because that's no fun.
No.
It's fun to just, do the search, see what happens when we're in the midst of the show. It's really fun when you see Indonesian articles talking about how they're expecting Nicholas Bentner to do well against Manchester United today.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he left, guys. He's doing a reality show.
Oh, no.
He would have been there if he hadn't, left in the end of the year.
Maybe he was doing the reality show outside while the game was going on inside, and he's going, ah!
That doesn't even make any sense at all to what. No. Just walk away. They thought he was still with the team. They're incredibly wrong, and it's very sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just not good.
No good. Chris Ashley, not a fan of the s'mores. He said, as a longtime camp counselor myself, I can tell you honestly, I've not had a s'more since working at summer camp, and I don't plan on ever having another. S'mored out for life.
Is that a hashtag, s'mored out for life?
That Dooley already showed you a yellow card. I think you just got a second.
What did I get a yellow for?
The last whole thing.
It's
like he picked up the back-to-back yellows in the same argument with the referee, and it's no good.
Kind of like yesterday with in Liga MX.
Yeah, explain what happened in this, because you were putting it in the messages, and I had no clue what was going on in the game you were watching.
Okay, I was watching Juarez and Pumas yesterday in Liga MX. So in the 7th minute, one of the players for Juarez went back-to-back, and boom, boom. And so in the 7th minute...
Wait a minute. What? In the 7th minute, what happened?
Yellow. It's like yellow, and then descent, second yellow.
Okay, thank you.
So boom, boom, back-to-back.
Okay.
And so in the 7th minute, Juarez is playing with 10. Then in the 42nd or 43rd, there was a soft call inside the area.
I think that might have been Nicholas
and it went to VAR, and it still stayed. And the guy got a red for a dog show.
Okay.
and it was soft. It was so soft.
So you got a red for Dogso, and it was a penalty?
Yeah.
So they said that he wasn't trying to play the ball.
Yeah.
Okay.
And even though he was, and
what part was soft? The foul or the Dogso part, or both?
both.
Okay, got it.
Both players are kind of looking up at the ball, and they kind of bang into each other, and it was incidental contact to me. And the guy from Pumas falls down, and it's just like, whistle, red, Dogso, VAR, checked, kept it, and so there you go. And so with that penalty, with that PK, it was 1-0. So Juarez is down to 9 men for the second half. They score an equalizer when they're down to 9 men, make it 1-1.
That's ridiculous.
And are trying to hang on for their very lives for the final 30 minutes. Then in stoppage time, the ref calls a penalty again on Juarez.
Jeez.
It goes to VAR, and it's reversed. So Pumas was ready to kick the equalizer in like 90+4. It goes to VAR. You could have read War and Peace while they're looking at it, and they reversed it, and so it ended up 1-1. And I was laughing hysterically at how karma came back and bit Pumas yesterday.
Jeez. That was more ridiculous than the Brazilian match I watched. Flamengo and Atletico Mineiro. It was Dome Tarrant's first game with Flamengo. They did not really look good. They lost 1-0. Horrible own goal that they had. It was a great finish, but he's the defender. It's not supposed to be a great finish. Atletico Mineiro wasn't really all that exciting. That's Jorge Sampaoli's team. They were Dome's team was not all that great, and it wasn't really a good one. The Brazilian league restarting is all kinds of weird. You've got a bunch of games getting postponed on the regular. We talked about it this morning. You had
1 minute before.
What?
Well, the one that was like the minute before it was supposed to start.
Yeah, it was right before they were about to start because team had traveled. Team had come overnight, and they are warming up, and they're ready to start the match, and the other team hasn't come out, and then they say, yeah, we're not playing. Because they had either 9 or 10 positive tests or inconclusive tests. It was really strange, and the way they handled it was really strange. And who knows? That's been the whole story with Brazil, and how they've handled all of this stuff has been really strange. I think they have midweek games this week too, and I don't know if you're going to be back to normal. Ragamuffin with a good question: does Flamengo play on a baseball diamond? And they do not. Maybe they should change so he can win down there.
Excellent point. I like that.
No, Dome Tarrant's a good manager. Do not besmirch the good name of Dome Tarrant. He made the best he could with that frickin' baseball diamond.
Ain't kidding.
What else you got on your board, John?
Let's see. I told you about the photo of Mesut Özil, who was spotted with the manager of Başakşehir, since he was not allowed to play in Arsenal's reindeer games the other day, so he went home.
Yeah,
and he was pictured with the manager of Başakşehir. So the rumor mill is running rampant about can Arsenal get rid of Mesut Özil and have him go home?
Sure, they can.
Yeah.
Do they want to?
That's the question. Başakşehir is kind of playing a little coy right now. We don't know about their interest.
Are they playing coy, or did they not do anything at all and you just had a picture taken? I don't think they're playing coy. Unless you think they manufactured the picture being taken. And then
no. The picture was taken. No, the picture was taken.
No. Unless they pulled the celebrity move of, hey, paparazzi guy, I'm going to be sitting here, and Mesut Ozil's going to be sitting here, and you should really take a picture and post it. Are they playing that game?
Doesn't look like it. It just looked like he was hanging out. He went home, and he's hanging out.
You said they were playing coy. I'm trying to figure out how they were playing coy.
Oh, I think that this is strictly for Başakşehir to sit there and say, hey, look who we got a picture with. Hey, check this out.
I head's going to explode. I have no idea what's going on anymore.
Hey, Okan Baruch. His boy Mesut Ozil.
Sorry.
Know what's going on here?
I have no clue because I don't know what is being said anymore.
The picture of Ozil and Baruch was taken by Turkish TV personality Ashun Ilikali.
They might have done what I said.
And on his Instagram page, which boasts 13.6 million followers.
They might have actually did what I just said. They might have been like, yeah, hey, Instagram guy.
Hey, dude.
Why don't you come take this picture?
Hey, TV personality, take our picture.
Yeah, that's probably it.
Hey, look who I found. Back in July, the newspaper that we're not supposed to report by name says that Başakşehir offered a deal for Ozil in a move that would have seen Baruch becoming Ozil's manager.
So I'm going to give you the opportunity to explain this one more time. Do you feel like the Turkish club in question is playing coy in this situation with Mesut Ozil?
How can you play coy if you've taken a photo?
Pictures get taken all the time, John.
Huh?
Pictures get taken all the time. It's just a picture.
That's what I'm saying. How can you play coy?
So then what are you playing? Explain it to me, because I'm confused.
No, it's like, okay, hey, see, the way that the article was written in the Daily Mail, Ozil and this dude,
Mail, first off.
Yeah, Ozil and this dude get their picture taken in Turkey by Turkish TV personality. Mm-hmm. So Turkish TV personality says, hey, look what I thought. Look who I got. I'm taking a picture of Mesut Ozil and this dude. Mm-hmm. So if you go back with the July report from the newspaper that we can't name, is this just another nail in that process? Is this pushing it along that much more that Başakşehir we might be interested?
So
don't know.
Wouldn't that be coy?
Well, wouldn't it be a little less overt for it to be coy?
I don't know. I'm asking for a definition of a word from you. I'm still more confused.
Coy to me means like you're doing something and you're not as overt as taking a photo with the guy. Because, I mean, I would, maybe if you held up a jersey, if you held up a postcard, if you held up a photo, you did something, hey, look at that guy right here. That to me seems overt.
Okay. Ragamuffin with a question then. Is that called tapping up?
I don't know. What do the kids say when they're tapping up?
What?
What does that mean? What does that mean?
Oh, go look it up. Ashley Cole tapping up. Please go look it up.
All right. I'm doing it right now.
English contracts tapping up. Thad Dooley, get that card back out.
Ashley Cole tapping up.
You've never heard that you've never heard that?
Nope.
You listen to everything about the English game. You're the Euro snob on the show.
I'm the Euro snob on the show?
Yes! You talk about how you watch everything and you watch all these games. You've never heard tapping up? You've watched Sky Sports News all the time. Tapping up. I want to see your eyes pop out of your head when you see what it means.
Tapping up on Wikipedia. I'm getting there.
I'm sorry, everybody. Yes, all the yellow cards. That's like 9 now from Thad Dooley.
I'm like the league leader. Oh, tampering. Okay. Okay.
Oh, God.
Okay.
Okay.
Just say tampering.
No, it's English.
I don't think you have the facilities for that, big man.
They don't call it tampering. They call it tapping up. So, back to the original question.
That would be what that is to me. That's not being coy. That's tampering.
Why is it tampering? They might be talking about eating dinner and what kind of music they listened to last night and what movies to go see.
I'm sure. Hey, how much would you spend on a good movie?
Yeah. Why not?
I don't know. 350,000 pounds a week?
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah, hell of a movie.
So they're not being coy. They're being very overt. And they are potentially tapping up.
Sure. Sounds like a plan to me.
I'm asking you.
I think so.
Okay, so you are accusing the Turkish club of tapping up, so Arsenal should file complaints. I don't know what the UEFA complaint process
grievance,
is.
yes.
Yes.
A couple things on Twitter.
Oh, boy.
Michael Ruiz.
Good grief.
Thank you, Linus. With Anthony Robinson signing for £2 million transfer fee to Sheffield United, Manchester City loaning Jack Harrison to Leeds again for a whole season, what does that mean for the USMNT and MLS?
Well, Harrison's English, so it doesn't have an impact there. He came here to go to school for 1 year at Wake, and then never went through a citizenship process. So he's English. Anthony Robinson has never played in MLS, so I mean it doesn't really change anything. Your national team pool in MLS is about what it was. Where I'm interested in the national team stuff going forward. Yes, and John, you did just call Charlie Brown Linus, but anyway.
Okay, so it was Charlie Brown. I was same cartoon, wrong character.
This is an epic show. Oh man, Nick, call in, please. Jarrett, put down your s'mores. It's about the same as it was, but my issue is going to be, what is travel going to be like when we get to the fall? Luckily, the U.S. doesn't have qualifiers in the fall. You can do friendlies in Europe with a European-based group. I don't know if you're going to be able to get MLS guys into that group or not. You've got enough in overseas to do it, but the problem the U.S. has in these situations is your best team might be 60-40 European or 70-30 or 2/3 European and 1/3 MLS, but you're not going to be able to do that very easily. So it's going to be really difficult. Man, I don't have a whole list in front of me, or we'd run through it in terms of MLS and overseas and what that looks like. I'm waiting to see what kind of schedule Greg Berhalter is able to put together for the fall, because he's going to need some games one way or another to look at some of these guys. Anthony Robinson is one guy he's going to want to look at. Now, my question, and this morning you seem to think that looking at Sheffield United, now that deal has not gone final yet. We haven't seen confirmation, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. You were worried that if he goes to Sheffield United, there's not a guarantee of playing time for him at left back.
Right, correct. Because going back over the starting 11, you're looking on that left-hand side as O'Connell and Ender Stevens. And, I mean, Stevens was your left wing back. O'Connell was your left back in your starting 11. If it's going to be anybody, it would be O'Connell. But I still think that...
No, he's not a left center back. No. He'd be the wing back.
So, I mean, for me, it would be going up against O'Connell in that...
No, O'Connell was the center back.
Okay.
No, Robinson's not a center back. He would be taking Stevens' spot. 30-year-old Irishman.
Yeah, well, Ender Stevens and how he performed for Chris Wilder last season, that's going to be a tough one. So that's going to be a good watch.
See, that's my concern, is if he goes to a club like that, he needs to play. He doesn't need to go somewhere and not play. Anthony Robinson was ready to walk into Milan squad in January, so I would think that if Sheffield United's bringing him in, they're expecting that to be an upgrade from Enda Stevens. But you're really high on Stevens.
Yeah, I'm just after how integral he was to that left wing back position and how Sheffield United was. I'm high on Ender Stevens. Like I said, it'll be a good training camp to see what's going to go down.
Per Who Scored, he was their sixth best player last year. 6.82 was his rating on Who Scored, where they take a bunch of different numbers through a match. It's not, voted on. So it's a decent player to try to upgrade from. I mean, Robinson has a lot of upside, but is he ready to step into that right now for a mid-table Premier League team? That's a jump. That's a big jump. he should grow from it. I mean, it's an upgrade for him in terms of level. It's an upgrade for him, I think, in terms of coaching. He should get better, but he's got to play some. You're talking about a player who's going to be 31 next year in Stevens, so, instead of playing all 38 matches, starting all 38, does he start, 28 and Robinson starts 10 and the other games Robinson comes off the bench, 15 times? Okay. You can deal with that for a year.
Yeah.
But that can't be, multiple years. It would have to be at a minimum Robinson is Stevens' understudy this year, but still plays a decent bit, and then moves over. I've always seen Robinson on the left side. I haven't seen him on the right side. The right side is more of an issue for Sheffield United. Looks like George Baldock is the one who played the most there. Not all that well. He was probably the lowest rated of the regular starters, according to who scored. So, could you move Robinson over there to play out of position, but to get more time, or could Stevens move over to that side and get more time?
That was what I was going to see. If you move Ender Stevens to compete with Baldock on the right, and you insert Robinson in on the left.
Potentially. That would be the question. If you can do that, then you can get even more out of it. But Robinson, I think it surprised everybody with the Milan interest. Felt like maybe that was a little too early. But now he's looking like he's going to go to a Premier League squad. And is he going to walk into a starting lineup? Maybe not. But he's going to walk into an opportunity to play. I'm curious to see it because we saw him with the national team, and he looked a little shaky early on, which is to be expected. He's young. Can he grow into that left back that this squad needs? Potentially. He's got to play to do it.
Nathan Pugh came in and with our discussion about Leeds United and where we thought that they might place, he says Leeds finishes above Everton. I mean, come on. It's the Ev.
Yeah, Nathan's a little biased, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Just like Chris Ashley's a little biased whenever Manchester United comes up, which is okay as well. It happens. Welcome to England. Welcome to anybody, who has their teams, and they don't like other teams, and maybe it's hard for them to look at things objectively. I think Everton will be better than they were last year. I think Ancelotti will do better than they were this previous year. How much better? I think the ceiling might be 6-7. Because I don't think they're going to go out and have a bunch of money to spend. I mean, he can get more out of that group, but how much higher can they go? I don't think a ton higher. I don't know if they get into a European spot next year, so is what it is. Yeah. Chris Ashley, shoot him straight over here. Okay, all right. We're gonna see. We'll see how the season goes for you. We'll see how things go when things start getting a little heated in the Premier League.
Mm-hmm. Our Leeds United correspondent for the season.
Yes. What else do you have on your board?
I'm good for right now. I mean, we've got it looks like the English FA has their choices down to 2 to take over for the English women's side.
Who are they?
Well, looking that up, Jill Ellis obviously was one of them. I was trying to figure out who the second one was.
Okay. Jill Ellis was mentioned as a possibility. Yeah. There was also some questions about that in terms of how much money she wanted, and also some of the comments that have come out from players like Ali Krieger and Sydney Leroux about their time playing under Jill Ellis. Is there any more of an update?
Let's see. All right, from the Telegraph, before it goes behind the paywall. Katie Wyatt, down to their 2 candidates for Phil Neville's successor. Announcement not expected this week, but could arrive as early as next week, with the governing body currently in final stages of a recruitment that drew over 140 applicants. Telegraph Sport understands former Manchester City head coach Nick Cushing, recently appointed assistant at MLS side New York City, did not apply for the position, while the Manchester United manager Casey Stoney appeared to rule herself out over the weekend.
Okay.
So, scanning.
So we're down to 2, because that was the 4 that had been mentioned previously.
Yep, so down to 2. Chelsea women's boss Emma Hayes also seemed to deny interest in April. And so it appears that it is Jill Ellis and someone else.
Jill Ellis and someone else.
Yeah, and so that'll be a good match race. Jill Ellis and someone else.
Ragamuffin wonders if Jill Ellis's picture was taken in Turkey.
I don't know. That's a question for Mesut Özil.
I don't know why he'd be taking the picture, but anyway. I mean, who else would it be? Because I would have thought it would have been Emma Hayes and Jill Ellis. That would have been the two. Anyway.
Yeah. So Chelsea. So Emma Hayes said in April she's happy at Chelsea, and
because those are the only four that I've heard.
Yeah.
Chris Ashley, no, I don't believe Jill Ellis is on Atlanta's list. Probably. Why do you laugh about that?
Hey, I'd love to see it.
Why? No, why would you? I wouldn't. I would not love to see it. Do you want the situation that Ali Krieger and Sidney Leroux talked about? Do you want the lack of quality tactics?
I'd love to see her interviewed. I just want to see what the interview would be like.
No, I want to see a woman get the job for a men's professional team when it is the right hire. This would not be the right hire. This would be to get attention, and that's not what anybody needs. No, I thoroughly disagree. I think England would be smart not to go in this direction because I think Jill Ellis is a manager who's had a ton of talent to work with. I really do. I do have 59 people on my list, Chris, but I don't have Jill Ellis on the list. I don't think she is the best manager in the world on the women's side. I don't. Honestly, I think Phil Neville got more out of the talent he had than Jill Ellis got out of the talent that she had in terms of quality performances. Obviously, she won 2 World Cups, so that's about as much as you can get. But in terms of the quality, England outplayed the U.S. in that semifinal in 2019, in my opinion.
Agreed.
I don't rate her that highly as a tactician, and it sounds like for some, she's not a good manager of the group of individuals. Now, that's not the case for everybody. Rose Lavelle has spoken up on her behalf. But, Sidney Leroux, who was on the outside looking in, Ali Krieger, who was starting to get passed up, although they had to bring her back, which was weird all the way around. It sounded awkward even. It didn't sound like Ali Krieger really was all that happy about going back. I do like Phil Neville's waistcoats as well. I think he has a very good fashion sense. Better fashion sense than Jill Ellis. That's true. I would agree with that. I think Jill might handle the media a little bit better, and that's something that Phil had some problems with from time to time. We'll see where he ends up when all this is done, but I don't know who else would be a candidate.
Okay, here's when the news came out in April. Here was the list that folks were referencing. Casey Stoney, Jill Ellis, Emma Hayes, Laura Harvey, Nick Cushing, Mark Parsons, Paul Riley, Sweden manager
that's throwing
Peter,
a whole bunch of names out.
Yeah, Swedish manager Peter Gerhardsson, and Reynald Pedros, the former manager from Lyon.
Nah, half of those I'm not buying at all. Maybe the former manager from Lyon. I think his name had come up before.
Yeah, Pedros. Yeah, him.
Burns said, off-topic question, why is the Canadian women's team not better international play? That's somewhat on topic. Saw a ton of great Canadian players in the NWSL tournament, and I couldn't understand why that team doesn't do better with this much talent. They're kind of reloading. I think their best generation so far was the one that got to the semifinals of the Olympics in 2012, the epic match with the U.S. They didn't handle hosting the World Cup all that well. I didn't think they were very good in that tournament. They should have done better, and it's been downhill from then. John Herdman left the women's program to go coach the men's program, which was kind of strange. They do have more and more talent. NWSL helps them a ton, but I think it's still young and developing. By the time you get to the next World Cup, now they could be better. This past one, I felt like they were kind of in between generations.
And I think that, and I still think that you're trying to negotiate the Christine Sinclair situation. It's like, okay, you still want to have her around for her.
No, she's still performing.
And so then by the time you get to the next World Cup, who's going to be that group that's going to be there to replace her?
Yeah, you're 3 years off. No, that's not it, because she should have played through 19, and that's where we're at. Now she could have played in an Olympics as well in 20, but now things have changed. The way the cycles usually go, you play the World Cup, you play the next Olympics, and then you reload. So no, that hasn't changed anything. She's still one of the best players, so she should be playing. Now in 23, I don't think she's going to be there, so you have to start making that transition. But you would have made it after the Olympics this year, and now, it's all different. So we'll see what they end up doing. But yeah, I think they're reloading, Bernd. I think they will be better. The U.S. is going to get pushed. Mm-hmm. Look, I don't think it's going to be easy anymore. The English team is very, very good, and they're still pretty young. The Dutch are developing. They got to a final for the first time. Spain is developing. I mean, even you're seeing the South American countries develop and take a step forward. They're still, I think, another probably cycle or two away from really competing for a World Cup title. Mexico is better than ever before. You're seeing countries like Italy, France, Germany, who are still very strong. It's not easy for the U.S. anymore. I love the Spanish team, Kefsi. I love the way they play. I was really impressed with the Dutch team as well. The U.S. has to be better than they were. They can't just coast on physicality. They can't just coast on speed and power. They can't just coast on having great talent. They're going to get beat by teams that are more technical or more tactical. Vlatko Andonovski is going to have some tough decisions to make, because just like Canada, he's got a group that is going to be moving on from Carly Lloyd. They're going to be moving on potentially from Alex Morgan. Although I think she's got another run in her, but how long is the question? In 23, is she still going to be factored in there? You've got to give the keys to Rose Lavelle. Got to get her playing big in these big games more often. You've got some players that are leaving the group, and you've got some players that need to step up on the leadership side. Is this Julie Ertz's team going forward? Okay. Is it Rose Lavelle's team in the attack? Okay. There's things to figure out. Is it Kristen Press's team in the attack? Does Lynn Williams factor in? There's lots of different elements. Where do you play Crystal Dunn? She's one of the best attacking players in the world for North Carolina Courage. She's a very good left back. Can you move those pieces around a little bit? I'm really curious to see what Vlatko Andonovski does, and it might be a while till we see it, but he's going to be tested more than anybody for the U.S. has ever been tested in the past.
Yeah, and for me, I can't wait to see how it continues to evolve and what the next steps look like. But the world is closing in on the United States. They have been, and they're still doing that when it comes to the world stage, when it comes to the women's game. So it's not just something where you can just go in, show up, and expect to win the whole thing. This is the world's closing in on you, and now it's your turn to figure out what your next stage is.
Badgermont asked about Rose Lavelle's transfer to Manchester City, if it was still happening. The last we heard is that there's an ankle injury that is slowing the whole process down. There was also a tweet earlier about maybe it's a little harder to make all these deals happen when you're talking about players who are on national team contracts and on NWSL contracts and all of that. Ropes asked if it's the beginning of a talent drain with Sam Mewis going over and potentially Lavelle. I do think it could be. I wondered when this would happen, because you've got the Women's Super League teams now with money that they typically haven't had. And Manchester City's got more money than most. Maybe the pandemic slows the process down a little bit and helps the NWSL, but you've got some clubs in Manchester City, Lyon, and now Real Madrid in the women's game. Real Madrid has full ownership over the team that they were in the process of transitioning and bringing under the umbrella. Now it's going to be branded as Real Madrid. They're going to try to make a splash. I've always wondered if they would go out and say, Megan Rapinoe, how much money do you want? Just name it, and here's the check. They could do that, and that'd be the splash they want to launch their team. They could pick whoever they want to do that with. Is it Carly Lloyd? Is it Megan Rapinoe? Is it Kristen Press? Is it Tobin Heath? Whatever. I do think it could be the beginning of a talent drain, and I think that's why the NWSL came into the year with adding allocation money, like MLS has. adding a component so teams could spend more on these players. But that's where it gets tricky because of the situation where you've got the national team players on federation contracts, but also on NWSL deals. Who is in control of that player? It sounds like it's the federation.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, are they going to want their players to play in Europe more after supporting the NWSL for a long time? And do they feel like they've gotten enough of a return out of it? I think they should, but that complicates it. You know, they might want to see some of these players go to Europe and play. You've got the weirdness of the seasons right now. I mean, NWSL might not play games again until next, March or April. If that's the case, then they've got to loan some of these players out at a minimum with a loan and potentially with sales. It's going to be tricky. It's going to be really hard for the NWSL. Now, the NWSL, and Rope says European clubs have more money than NWSL clubs. Some do. But the NWSL has the team in LA coming in. They have Louisville coming in. They have more owners coming in willing to spend money than they've ever had before. It sounded like before the pandemic exploded that there was more interest in expansion teams than ever before. We know about the interest here in Atlanta. Arthur Blank said it on 92.9 The Game at the home opener, that was something they were exploring. Cincinnati's mentioned that. Miami's mentioned that. Nashville's mentioned that. You're going to have more teams look at it because it just makes a ton of sense. So can NWSL at this point, which is a critical juncture for them, can they handle potentially losing some players? Because if Real Madrid comes in with a blank check, there's no point. Okay. Thank you. Let's get a transfer fee on that. Okay.
Yes.
And let's do that, and let's grow it then. That can happen. But it's a tough decision because you can't lose too many people. Sam Mewis to Manchester City, okay, I think Sam Mewis is an outstanding player. Is she one that crosses over into the mainstream for people buying NWSL tickets? Probably not. Crystal Dunn potentially would. Kristen Press would. Tobin Heath would. Carly Lloyd would. Megan Rapinoe would, obviously. Yeah. Alex Morgan would. There's a number of players who I think Rose Lavelle would at this point. So there's a number of players who would cross over, and how many of those can you afford to lose? That's the question. Now, Ropes has a point, and it's true, and the NWSL can reload better than anybody because of what's going on in the college game. You've always got more talent coming. That's absolutely true. What the NWSL has to do, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion on it, you've got to get away from advocating and advertising your stars. You've got to get away from it being, this is Megan Rapinoe's league, this is Carly Lloyd's league, and this is Sky Blue, this is OL Reign. These are your teams. Fall in love with the badge. Fall in love with the club. Get connected to the club, not the superstar who's in the shirt right now, who might not be in that shirt next year. That's what the NWSL has to turn it to. And they can. They have the opportunity to do that. They've got to get there because you are going to lose some people right now. And that's okay. That should be okay. But you've got to get people connected right now to the clubs, to the league. And you've got to grow that. Now, you're getting sponsors in. You're getting more interest than ever before. Things are in place to do it. But you've got to tweak that branding a little bit away from the superstars and to your clubs.
Because at the end of the day, it's the clubs that are hanging around.
Yep.
Those clubs are in those markets and they're in those footprints. And if you're promoting individuals who come in maybe for a year, maybe two, whatever, instead of the fact that this is your club in the collective sense, and they're here to be a part of your community, they're here to be a part of your footprint, they're a part of your legacy and your history and building it forward. That, to me, is the important step here, where you insert it as a part of the fabric of the area that it's in, and not just, while it's great to see these players come in and wear the jersey, the longer play is that this is part of who we are as a region.
It's a good conversation in the clubhouse over here on Twitch, back and forth with Burned and Ropes, and talking about how players are developed in the U.S. versus in Europe. There's elements of both that are good. I agree with Byrne. Like, you have more players playing women's soccer in the U.S. Like, you have more girls playing. So there's a wider pool to pick from. I think what you're starting to see is that the coaching in Europe has caught up really quickly in terms of developing talented soccer players. So it's almost like the beginning of the European basketball players coming in, where you started to see these Euro guys come in that were very technical, very skilled, not as athletic, not as fast, not as like street savvy in terms of the way the NBA was played. I think in the U.S., too often you see in the women's game priorities on speed and power and not enough on technique and tactics. And that needs to change. That really needs to change, because that's where I feel like the European clubs are catching up, even with smaller player pool to pick from. You know, they're training in a way like their men are. The women here should be training like soccer players train, not just simplifying it and playing simple and playing vertical all the time and just trying to outrun people. You need more Rose Lavelles. You need, and Rose Lavelle, probably a generation before, would not have been picked for a youth national team, wouldn't have made her way to the senior national team, probably would have given up the game at 26 because she's small. And we need more of that. We need to celebrate those players. It needs to be more creativity, more technique, less just speed and power. You can obviously find a place for those players when they fit, but you need more soccer players. And the women's game, in terms of the way players are developed, needs to prioritize that more here, or you're going to see other countries catch up even faster.
We are caught up on Twitters and caught up on the board. What else is going on?
A little bit out of South America. We mentioned it this morning. Guillermo Barros Schelotto is up for the Ecuador national team job. It looks like another candidate that they're talking about in Ecuador a good bit is another one who's on my list, another one who's been mentioned directly with Atlanta United, Gustavo Alfaro. There have been reports. I think the South American media is a little confused about the way it's been talked about here, because I've seen reports about Atlanta United's wish list, and it was, I think, the MLSsoccer.com article. And I think that they thought that was, a wish list from inside the club, when it wasn't. It was just honestly like a list of names that were possibilities. Mm-hmm. So they've kind of went round and round. Alfaro has said he hasn't heard from anybody with Atlanta United. Ariel Holan is another name that's come up and been mentioned multiple times. He said he hasn't heard from anybody with Atlanta United, and he's committed to his club that he is currently with. So nothing has come out from a Atlanta position in South America yet about, hey, this person has said they've been contacted. The things I'm seeing so far are this person is on Atlanta's list, and it seems like it's referencing back to the MLSsoccer.com article. So, but these are two who, Schelotto's not on Atlanta's list. I don't think he'd be on their list right now anyway, because he's with the LA Galaxy, and he's doing okay. They have a horrible defense, and he needs to talk to his general manager about that. Yeah. Alfaro is somebody that people have talked about because of his time at Boca Juniors, but Gustavo Alfaro is not a attacking manager. His team scored goals with Boca because he had more talent than most teams, but he's generally been at smaller clubs that have had to scrap and fight and claw, and he reverted to that against River in the Libertadores semifinal last year. I was very disappointed with Boca's stance and the way they came out in that match. It was kind of surprising to see it in the first leg, and you dug a hole for yourself. Boca felt like a job that was too big for him, and he offered his resignation pretty quickly after that. After that Libertadores semifinal, he resigned before the season was over. He left at the end of the calendar year, and they went back to Russo, who had been there before, and Russo put them on a run. They won the title. So I don't know if Alfaro fits I don't think he fits what people are saying they want, but there's people who are pushing for Alfaro, and I think it's just because of the Boca tie.
Yeah.
And he didn't win the title at Boca. Like, he left. He left after they were outclassed by River in the Libertadores semifinals. They were good. They were second in the league when he left. I think they were second. They might have been third. I think they were second. But he left. I think this job, yes, would be too big for him, because I think he's a guy who does best at a club that's punching above their weight. So I don't know if he's the right fit his name's come up multiple times, and I don't really know where it's coming from, other than just he managed at Boca. Another thing with Boca to keep an eye on, Red Bull Bragantino, and this was something that I think it was Bernd who mentioned it in the chat, that they had a bunch of positive tests at one point, and I think they all ended up coming back as false positives, of course. They are bringing in, reportedly, Boca Juniors forward Jan Hurtado. He's a 20-year-old Venezuelan forward who had been at Gimnasia before that, and he was the only good thing on the Gimnasia team before Maradona got there. He was a fun player to watch. He hasn't scored a ton of goals, and it's like he's one of those young players that you're looking at and you see, man, he would be somebody that I think could come to MLS. It looks like the option to buy tag on him is $5.5 million. Okay, that's doable for an MLS team. But he's one of those young players. He feels like a Juan Agudelo in some ways to me, in that he is very creative, very technical. I mean, there's a classic highlight of him where he pulls just a ridiculous move on somebody up against the touchline and dribbles past them, and it's great. But the final product's not really there. He's not scoring a ton of goals. And Boca felt like a club that was too big for him. So I'll be very curious to see how it looks for him in Brazil with a Red Bull club, because he has the characteristics to do well in a Red Bull club, but he's also a very talented player with the ball at his feet. So I want to see how he fits. He's been one, I mean, if you're talking about Joseph Martinez in Venezuela, he's somebody you have to keep in mind, because Hurtado is somebody who can come in and play in that team with Joseph. But he's somebody that is in that ballpark of being a young designated player kind of signing for an MLS club who could come in here and come in with a lot of swagger and potentially do well. But he's got to take that next jump. And is he going to do it? This feels like maybe a spot where he needs to do it, or he's not going to do it because he's 20 now. So loan for $150,000 and the option to buy is at $5.5 million. So keep an eye on Hurtado, but never really worked for him at Boca. But he's a talented player. It just hasn't clicked.
So how was did you officially finish it, or is there still some left?
There's still some left. I've had this beer many times. I've had this beer on the show many times.
I didn't know if you had completely and totally just finished it, because it looked like that was a...
No, I'm sipping.
Okay.
It's getting a little warm, so I'm drinking a little faster now because I'm just sipping as we're talking soccer on the show.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Are Ropes and Burnt still going at it in the chat?
No, I think they got bored. It's been one of those nights. We've been all over the place. So tomorrow we will be talking about Orlando and Portland.
Yes.
You guys who are listening, I'd love to hear your early thoughts on Orlando and Portland. Do you think Orlando can get this thing done against the Timbers? Or do you believe that Giovanni Savarese can get Portland up for this game and get it done? I really keep zeroing in on the two stars. And I put Sebastian Blanco as that star right now for Portland. I think he is the big game player. Nani for Orlando, he can drag them to a win in this final. He absolutely has that ability. Ragamuffin says Orlando stinks.
Orlando City in the aggregate's a plus 145 right now.
Yeah, what are the numbers now? Because it was around that before. What are the numbers? We'll see if they change before the morning.
This is an aggregate from our friends at Odds Portal. This is not from BetMGM in the solo. But okay. Portland right now is a plus 174.
So Orlando's still the favorite, about the same as where it was.
Yeah, no real movement yet. Probably more movement tomorrow, probably during the show. Orlando City plus 145, and your tied after 90 minutes is plus 252.
Chris Ashley says, give me Gio in a match like this 2-0. Badgers hoping for a good performance from Chris Mueller. Obviously, the Wisconsin ties. The rest of the team, he can live without.
It's like, you can be all right. The rest of you, not so much.
Badger will be very happy when Chris Mueller moves on from Orlando at some point.
Yes.
I think it's going to be a good match. I'm looking forward to it. Tomorrow's, kind of a good day of matches. So you've got Wolves and Sevilla at 3 o'clock. You've got Shakhtar and Basel at 3 o'clock in the third and fourth quarterfinals in the Europa League. You've got Liga MX tomorrow night as well. You can go with a 3 o'clock, probably watching Wolves and Sevilla.
Yep.
At 6 o'clock, Necaxa and Mazatlan. And then the 8 o'clock Portland-Orlando final. And then you can wash it all down with some Tigres and Puebla if you want to go down that road on 2-day-NA.
Well, yeah, and Tigres is at minus 200, so that one might be over early and might get you to bed. But, yeah, they've got a 6, an 8, and a 10 tomorrow night in Liga MX.
That they do. And then Champions League picks up on Wednesday, and it's one quarterfinal a day for the next 4 days, which will be really good stuff. Atalanta and PSG on Wednesday will kick that one off. PSG's got some serious injury issues. Mbappe, he traveled, but I don't see any way he's playing. Di Maria not playing. Verratti is the biggest question mark now. Is he going to be able to go? Atalanta could get to a semifinal for the first time.
See, this is where we need Nick Alifi's input on all this kind of stuff.
You're the one who was ready to crown Atalanta as the Serie A champions next year.
Hey, that'd be great. I'd love to see it. Because as the patron saint of the underdog on this show, I just that and upsetting the apple cart in general. Just give me the odd bird. Give me the odd bird, and I will buy the T-shirt and wear it proudly.
The odd bird. Okay.
Yeah, give me the odd bird. Because when Leicester won the title, one of the first things I did was grab the Leicester Champs T-shirt, and so I still have that in my stack. So, give me the underdog that wins the championship, or the team that's there for the first time in a long time, and I will buy that stuff all day long. I'm a sucker for the underdog.
Badger said, "Are all of the Europa and Champions League matches now elimination?" Yep, everything is one leg now, so it gets a little different. Bernd is looking forward to the Red Bull, the RB Leipzig. We got to be careful with that. We don't want to upset anybody. And
yes.
Atletico match. He said they will kick the living blank 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 out of each other. That is accurate.
Right.
That is accurate. I'd have to go Atletico in that. I just have to.
Plus 143. What's
Leipzig?
Plus 221, and tied at 90 minutes is plus 215.
Yeah, I'm definitely going Atleti. I feel like the German clubs are at a disadvantage right now because their season ended so much earlier.
Yep.
Bayern was fine. Bayern had a huge cushion too, so they played with more freedom. I wonder, no Timo Werner, I just wonder if Leipzig is going to be able to compete with Atleti in that match. I think a single game knockout, I love the idea of Diego Simeone in single game knockouts, 3 games to win a trophy. He can do that. He can do that for sure. He's the one, honestly, with the format, he was the one that I thought it changed the most for.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's the one who can take advantage of that format the best. So I've got Atleti getting to the final.
Yeah, because they are upper right in the bracket, correct?
I guess, if depending on which one you're looking at.
No, because they're on the
upper right, but you can rearrange it however you want.
Well, but I'm just in the bracket.
Who are they playing?
They've got RB Leipzig, and so
who are they playing next if they win? That's the point.
That's what I'm trying to. It's PSG, isn't it?
Well, PSG's got to beat Atalanta, which I don't know if that's going to happen.
So it's the winner. So the winner of Atalanta and PSG would get to Atletico Madrid in their half of the bracket, and then you would have the Manchester City, Lyon, Bayern, Barca, other side of the bracket.
Yeah, it got stacked in a weird way. We'll run through it real quick. Manchester City, Lyon. What are you thinking?
I think it'll be tough early, but I think that Manchester City gets it. It's probably 2-0 by the time they're done. Manchester City right now minus 370, Lyon plus 1010.
I think City runs Lyon off the park. I don't even think it's close. I think City's so much of a better team in that one. So I'm going City comfortably. Atleti, Leipzig, I'm going Atleti. We've talked about that. Barcelona, Bayern Munich. Messi was held out of training, but he's going to be fine for the match. What do you think in this one? This feels like the toughest one to call of the 4.
I still think it's Bayern, though. It's going to be, but of course I say that, and then we see one of those efforts like we saw with Messi over the weekend. I was going to go Bayern 2-1. Bayern right now at a plus 100 even money.
Bayern won't fail to convert an early chance like Napoli did. I think Bayern scores early and runs them out. I just don't think Barcelona's good enough at this point. And Messi can paper over a lot of cracks. I don't think he can do it against Bayern. So
yep.
I've got City, I've got Atleti, I've got Bayern, and then Atalanta and PSG. What do you think?
Give me the dog. I want Atalanta to get to the Final Four. I think that'd be awesome.
I like that analysis. I think Atalanta.
Hey, this one that is strictly with the heart. That is not with the head.
I think PSG's lack of playing for a long period of time, the injuries, Atalanta is in a better position to go through. I think they do. So then that means it is Bayern and Manchester City in one semifinal, which is epic, and Atleti and Atalanta in the other one, which is also epic in a different way because you get all-out attack against a very good defensive team. So if those are the semifinals you get, they're excellent. I have no problem with those at all. Single games for Champions League, it's going to be interesting to see what the reaction is in Europe to this. I like it. I mean, we're used to this. We just went through it with the playoffs in MLS last year. I like it. I want to see how people react now that we're in this phase.
Yeah, but no, it's if that is the Final Four, that one's going to be a fun Final Four to watch. And shout out to CBS Sports for what they've done so far with Europa and with their Champions League coverage. Really like how they've addressed it. And when you can bring in Sir Patrick Stewart to do your voiceover and your intros for the presentations, and you bring in the brand friendly comments with the August Madness and what they did in studio, and you had your bracketology segment with your hosts and your analysts, and you played the music going to break. I'm like, bravo, nicely done. So they were integrating themselves from jump, and it's good to see that CBS is taking it the way that they are.
We've got a little bit of this. Report from Pilar Velasquez, Colombian reporter, that FC Dallas is, let's see how she worded it. I think it's close. No, it's done. Andres Ricarte, he is a Colombian central midfielder at Independiente Medellin, Copa Libertadores level squad. He's valued at $2.2 million. So you might be able to pull that off under a designated player spot. 28-year-old central midfielder, and it is being reported as done with him leaving Independiente Medellin and going to Dallas. It's a good upgrade for them.
Okay. And was Pilar Velasquez on your tweet deck? Is that how you got that one?
No, man, I got skills, yo.
Well, I know, but I didn't know if TweetDeck was a part of that.
No. It's not about how you get it with Tweet. I don't have TweetDeck. I don't have anything with TweetDeck. TweetDeck doesn't exist for me. It's dead to me.
So then what's the equivalent to TweetDeck, or is that a trade secret?
It's a trade secret, man. I'm not giving you all my secrets. You got to catch up, bro. Man.
Says the guy who introduced me to Tamping Up tonight.
What did I introduce you to?
Wasn't it it's not tampering, but it's what'd you call it?
No, you should know.
Ashley Cole, and it was what?
Oh no, he just didn't.
Oh, Tapping Up. Sorry.
Thank you.
And boom goes the dynamite.
That's pretty close.
Yeah, I think that's going to do it. Badgermon says VAR made a correct decision to take away a penalty from Inter today. Yeah. VAR was better today with that. VAR's had a rough return to European football. Hopefully it gets better and we don't have crazy VAR madness in these upcoming Champions League quarterfinals and beyond, because I do not want to hear the nonsense about it at all. But I know we're going to get it because VAR is a little out of practice, it feels like, in Europe. All right, we'll be back in the morning, 9 o'clock, normal time, normal show tomorrow. Same on Wednesday. Mike Conti will join us on Wednesday. Then Wednesday night, we'll have Atlanta United 2 on ESPN Plus against the Tampa Bay Rowdies.
Yeah.
So it's a busy week. But we'll be back in the morning talking about it. We'll get you set for Orlando and Portland. We'll go into more detail previewing that game. We'll see what other news we get with more signings as the silly season, MLS included, is starting to ramp up. More players are being linked to moves, and we'll see what the talk is in Europe, because there's a lot of things up in the air. Is there progress on Sancho? Is that just done, or does Manchester United keep knocking on the door? Does Mike Ashley keep trying to find new songs on the boombox to get the Saudi Arabian investors back? Does Charlton Athletic get kicked out of football? I mean, we've got a lot of things to see what happens overnight. We'll talk about it in the morning, 9 o'clock. You can listen to it live on the Soccer Down Here app. What? You're holding up a phone. That's not a boombox.
A Mike Ashley impression.
Not how it works. Your phone's not loud enough. Then you can also listen on soccerdownhere.net, and you can also watch and listen on twitch.tv/soccerdownhere. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out. Appreciate it. We'll be back in the morning. Mucha plata, y'all.
Mucha tapping up, y'all.